I was a university student on a scholarship. To repay the favor, I hid the fact that I was an Omega and volunteered to become the private tutor of the young master no one dared to teach. On the first day, he threw a tantrum. Who does he think he is? Why should I listen to him? On the second day, I'm not into betas. Don't think you can seduce me just because you've got a nice face and voice. Then one day during his heat, he climbed into my bed. I tried to struggle, but he just held me tighter. William, are you really a beta? Your body's softer than an Omega's. It feels so good. 1. The young master crashed his car while speeding and messed up his leg. Henry, furious, confiscated his weapon of crime and forced him to straighten up and return to the family business. Because he had already scared off several tutors in the past, no one wanted to take the job. As someone who had once been sponsored by the family, I hid my Omega status and applied on my own. Henry looked over my resume with a regretful sigh. So young, yet so reckless. I'll have to increase your pay. I first met Benjamin in his private hospital room. He had just thrown a tantrum and trashed everything he could lay his hands on, even though I had taken suppressants in advance. The moment I stepped into the room, I was nearly knocked over by the intense scent of a displeased alpha. After scolding his son, Henry turned to me and spoke more gently. My son's pheromones are intense. Good thing you're a beta. I was pushed in front of Benjamin. The alpha stared at me, momentarily stunned, and the aggressive scent in the room eased up a little. From now on, William will be your personal assistant. You need to listen to him. The young master raised his chin arrogantly at Henry. Why should I? I don't even listen to you. Why would I listen to him? Henry looked like he was about to explode from frustration. He's way more competent than you. You're not a kid anymore. It's time to start thinking about taking over the company. The door closed behind them with a soft click. Silence fell over the room. Apart from the mess on the floor, there was just Benjamin with his leg in a cast, unable to move, and me, staring at him, annoyed. He snapped. What are you looking at? Never seen a handsome guy before? I have, I said, but never one better looking than you. You. Benjamin looked like he wanted to lash out, but held back. His face turned red with frustration. I smiled and politely held out my hand. Nice to meet you, Benjamin. I'm happy to be your assistant. The spoiled young master turned his face away and snorted coldly. I'm warning you. I'm not into betas. Just because you've got a pretty face and a nice voice doesn't mean you can seduce me. I'm not going to listen to you. Seriously, what goes on in that guy's head? 2. I picked up the chair that had been knocked over, sat down next to Benjamin's bed, and took out the personalized schedule I'd prepared for him. Next to the first item, establish friendly communication with Benjamin, I marked an X. Curious. Benjamin tried to lean forward to take a look, but his leg wouldn't cooperate. After holding back for a while, he finally asked, "What did you write?" I glanced at him and flipped the document around to show him. Inheritor Behavior Guidelines. It's a point system. Why did you take off 3 points under manners and ethics? Then he suddenly exploded. Wait, who gave you the right to grade me? You think you've got the authority? I'm not gonna be chained to this stupid company for the rest of my life. I want my freedom. Look at that. He wanted to see it. And now he's mad after reading it. I explained calmly. You disrespected your elders, cursed, and had a bad attitude, so, -3 points. Benjamin didn't say anything for a while. I asked, is there something you don't understand? He stared at my face. What lip balm are you wearing? Halfway through, he abruptly changed his tone, awkwardly muttering, ugly, totally not attractive. Major red flag for me. Henry texted me, tough case? I rubbed my ear, still ringing from Benjamin's shouting. Henry, this job comes with certain hazards. Understood. I'll increase your pay. 3. Don't think just because you hired someone who checks all my boxes, I'm gonna say yes. If I'm gonna date someone, it's gotta be a cute little Omega. William may be good looking, but with those muscles, hugging him probably feels like holding a rock. And he even gave me a stupid grade. I've never even gotten points taken off my driver's license. And he dares deduct points from me. Benjamin was on the phone with his dad, on speaker. I was standing in the hallway with his lunchbox and could hear everything loud and clear. When I opened the door, I caught the end of the call, his dad, sounding like he was fed up. You little punk, look at yourself. He finished an EMBA in just 6 months and still agreed to take you on. You think someone like that would be interested in a useless brat like you? Good thing he's a beta. If he were an Omega and you looked at him the way you did when you first met, God knows what filthy thoughts you'd have. I'm warning you, don't scare him off. And absolutely don't even think about making a move on him. Click. The call ended. Benjamin was still holding the phone, sneaking a nervous glance at me. You came in without knocking. Don't you know any manners? And you're supposed to be some elite student, what did you hear? Even if you heard something, don't get the wrong idea, I'm not the least bit interested in you. That mouth of his, like a corporate slave that doesn't even get holidays off. Seeing that I didn't respond, he softened his tone slightly, though his words were still prickly. I know you don't want to be stuck with me, or teach me anything. How much is my dad paying you? I'll give you double, just leave. I answered honestly, 5 million. He blinked. Oh, wait, 5 million a year? You're that expensive? I quietly added. Monthly. The young master, finally humbled, muttered, well, then, I'm broke. 5 million. After his dad froze his card, Benjamin couldn't even come up with $500. Those good-for-nothing friends of his, also banned from visiting after getting caught racing with him, were nowhere to be found. Once a dazzling butterfly fluttering through every high society party, the young master had finally crashed and burned. He stared pitifully at the raindrops hitting the window. How many points do I have now? -28. What? His eyes widened. Ever since Henry said that once Benjamin's total score reached 100, he'd unfreeze his bank account and return his car, he finally started taking my grading system seriously. Fine. I get it. Morals, skills, crisis management, I can work on all that. But no smoking, even my dad smokes. That rule, I just made it up to round things out. I knew Benjamin didn't actually smoke, but I didn't expect him to dig out a cigarette from who knows where and stick it in his mouth just to challenge my scoring system, without lighting it. Of course. How's this? I'm not breaking any rules now, am I? I looked down and noted something with my pen. Swearing. -1. Damn it, William, just 'cause you fit my type doesn't mean I won't punch you. He still had the cigarette in his mouth when he said it. Honestly, it sounded more like a big dog sulking than someone picking a fight. I stepped forward, pulled the cigarette from his mouth, and popped it between my own lips. Then I pulled out a lighter from my pocket, lit it, and took a drag. Smoke rose, curling into the air. Benjamin stared in shock as I calmly snuffed it out. No smoking in the hospital. It took him a while to speak again. My dad hired you to teach me, not to seduce me. I just don't want you smoking. He stared at me like he'd discovered a new species. You've got such a clean face, and you smoke. Not really. It's just that when suppressants stop working during heat cycles, and I still have to interact with people, the scent of smoke helps mask things. But there's no need for the young master to know that. 5. I brought over a bowl of warm water, dampened a towel, and stood by Benjamin's hospital bed. What are you doing? Benjamin clutched his collar and instinctively shrank back. If not for the obvious scent of alpha pheromones, I'd really start to doubt he was one. The guy looked like he was about to get taken advantage of. Sir, please take off your clothes. I need to help you clean your body. Why you? What about the nurse? She's on leave. Then, maybe I'll skip the bath today. This young master was too pure. Please understand, it's my responsibility. And besides, I paused for dramatic effect, then said calmly, our physiology's basically the same. Nothing to be shy about. You gotta be kidding me. I've got real muscles, don't believe me? Feel them. So obedient. He undressed himself. I picked up the towel and got to work, staying professional. As expected, for someone who acted like a clueless brat, he was actually in great shape. Well-defined muscles, tight abs, V-line leading down. My hand brushed against his waistband. Suddenly, he grabbed my wrist. His voice was slightly hoarse, and his body flinched. I can do the rest myself. You sure? I handed him the towel, and before leaving for the bathroom, gave his lower abdomen one last glance. Didn't want him to lose face, so I gave him an out. It's understandable, just youthful energy. Ungrateful as ever. He snapped. Get out. Swearing. -1. He threw a pillow at me. I dodged it easily. TSK. Typical alpha temper. 6. The nurse ended up taking several days off. Benjamin toughed it out the first day, held back on the second, and by the third, red-faced and flustered from all the full-body wiping, he finally begged to be discharged. The doctor said he could leave, but the cast had to stay. He'd need proper care and monitoring. Henry, caught up with overseas business, didn't have time to come back, so he asked me to move into Benjamin's place to take care of him. My son's about to enter his heat cycle, and now his leg's injured too. Good thing you're a beta. I wouldn't trust anyone else. Henry, the thing is, maybe I'm. Before I could finish, my phone buzzed. 2 million transferred to your account. Note, babysitting fee. And just like that, Benjamin, who'd been hiding from me, saw me again. I frowned slightly and pulled out my grading notebook. He immediately swallowed whatever sarcastic comment he'd been about to make. You really haunt me like a ghost. He must have truly had enough of me, which worked out, because I wasn't exactly eager to be around him either. I picked up the suitcase I'd just set down. Hey, wait, where are you going? Home, I replied honestly. He hobbled over on crutches, barely keeping his balance. I tried to help him, but he grabbed my wrist instead. Sir, please behave, I said, meeting his gaze. He usually looked away, but this time, his eyes, deep and dark, met mine head-on. Benjamin looked irritated, though he didn't seem to realize it himself. It's not that I don't want to see you. You need to stay and keep grading me. My leg's healing fast. I still have to get back to racing. His voice trailed off. Alphas approaching their heat cycle can get agitated, even aggressive, but Benjamin, despite that wickedly good-looking face, was acting cute again. I couldn't help it. I burst out laughing. What's so funny? He reached out and flicked my forehead, not hard, but not gentle either. That flick was enough to throw off his balance on one leg. He tipped sideways. I grabbed him by the waist, pulled him toward me. Only problem was, he fell right on top of me. 6'3" alpha, all weight, full body press. 7. Because of the way he fell, and probably to avoid hurting me, Benjamin used his hand to cushion the back of my head. I should have been grateful, but then, he suddenly buried his face into the crook of my neck and sniffed me like a dog. Omega pheromones. My body had developed a tolerance to the suppressants, and the latest batch from the black market hadn't arrived yet. I'd still taken one, but the close physical contact triggered my scent to leak out instinctively. I stiffened, held my breath, forgot I should have pushed Benjamin off immediately. If I got exposed as an Omega now, they'd think I was seducing the Heir on purpose. I'd be blacklisted and kicked out of the city in no time. What body wash are you using? Don't get the wrong idea. I just think it smells nice and wanna buy some. Totally not into you or anything. Benjamin's ears turned bright red. I let out a sigh of relief. Almost forgot, this young master failed biology and probably didn't even know what a temporary mark was. It's a cheap brand. You wouldn't like it. Dodged the bullet. Before Benjamin could say anything else, I pushed him off and went into the bathroom. I stared at myself in the mirror, watching water drip down my face. Took out the blocker spray from my pocket and sprayed it all over my flushed glands. I'd been taking suppressants ever since I presented as an Omega. The side effects? Totally unpredictable heats. Sometimes a few times a month. Sometimes nothing for months. The last one was 2 months ago. Now, with my glands heating up like this, I didn't know if it was Benjamin's scent triggering me, or if my heat was really on its way. God, let it be the former. The weird thing was, after I came out of the bathroom, Benjamin started following me around in his wheelchair. Everywhere I went, he followed. I hung my clothes in the guest room closet. He was there. I cooked for both of us. He rolled in. I went to the study to organize the company materials he needed to learn. He didn't throw a tantrum or cause trouble like he usually did. He even sat through my full 30-minute lecture about his future development plan. The mouth that usually never shut up seemed to hit pause. And when we were done, he quietly asked, "Can I get some extra points for that?" I tested him. 10 points. He nodded. Okay. Surprisingly well behaved. Surprisingly, off. 8. It wasn't until I finished washing up, turned off the lights, and climbed into bed that the other side of the mattress suddenly dipped. Something heavy shifted, and then, without warning, an arm wrapped around my waist. I instinctively let out a muffled sound. Startled, then came a face pressing into my neck, the soft tickle of tousled hair rubbing against my skin. "William, I really like your scent." It was Benjamin, gone for less than 10 minutes. I thought he'd gotten tired of the game of cat and mouse and had gone to sleep. Turns out he'd slipped into my bed. His voice was muffled, and his state, even more off than earlier. Not just his behavior, his pheromones had thickened the air, saturated with a potent alpha scent, whiskey and mint. It carried the reckless edge of a boy untempered by the world, layered over something much heavier, loneliness. Loneliness. I recalled the rumors I'd read. Benjamin's mother passed away shortly after he was born. His father buried himself in work, leaving Benjamin in the care of a negligent nanny. He would sit for hours on the couch, waiting for a father who might not return for days. To get attention, he began acting out, fights, truancy, all sorts of misbehavior, just so teachers would call his dad to school. All that chaos was just a desperate attempt to be noticed. Eventually, it became a reflex. Benjamin wasn't a bad person. He was just misguided, teachable, but that would have to wait until after his susceptibility period. Right now, his alpha pheromones were like invisible hands, locking me in place, forcing me to breathe in sync with him. "William, are you really a beta?" Why's your body softer than an Omega's? It feels so good. He nuzzled closer, his hands beginning to tug at my shirt when he didn't get the scent he wanted. I'd trained in self-defense for years, but no matter how skilled I was, an Omega in proximity to a triggered alpha, there was no real way to resist. 9. In the dark, Benjamin stared at me in a daze. Where's the scent? It's gone. Of course it was. I'd panicked and doubled up on suppressants. I thought that'd give me enough time to handle the situation. But Benjamin, assuming I was just a beta, kept releasing pheromones like he didn't care. Let me smell you. Just a little, he asked, voice trembling with a bizarre kind of desperation. Then a tear slid onto my cheek. I stared at him, speechless. Was this guy seriously crying? Something wicked stirred in me. I grabbed his hair, forcing him to meet my gaze. Serves you right. Bet you don't even know where to bite because you skipped every bio class. I didn't. I was a good student. His pupils gleamed in the dark like a wolf's. I swallowed and said lowly, no smelling, but you can taste. Then I cupped his face and kissed him. He shifted around frantically, until I smacked his side in warning. Don't move. That shut him up. Neither of us had experience, clearly, which was why our kiss felt more like awkward chewing than anything romantic. At least when the metallic taste of blood hit, Benjamin calmed down. Still, he instinctively reached for my glands again. I didn't let him. He looked utterly wronged. Then, out of frustration, he bit my neck. Ever heard of rabies, dumbass? I hissed, and in retaliation, I bit his gland, just hard enough to leave a mark. This is where you're supposed to bite, idiot. Apparently he liked that. He leaned in again, trying to kiss me. I pushed him away, laughing bitterly. Benjamin, are you really an alpha? 10. After I gave up the bed and slept on the couch, morning came. Benjamin woke up rubbing his eyes, then pointed to his neck in confusion. Are there mosquitoes in the house? My neck's swollen. I calmly sipped my milk and passed him his glass. Wait, your mouth too? What the hell? I'm gonna find that mosquito and kill it. Why me and not you? What do you mean? Why you? I didn't even get to. His eyes flickered, dodging mine as he drank his milk, stealing a glance at my lips. He muttered, forget it, never mind, said it like he meant it. But the rest of the day, he rolled around in his wheelchair wielding an electric flyswatter like a madman. Where are all the damn mosquitoes? I finally couldn't take it and decided to help. Maybe it wasn't a mosquito. His eyes widened in realization. I looked down, instantly regretting opening my mouth. Why did I want him to remember? But then I remembered, Benjamin was, well, not the brightest. If it wasn't a mosquito, was it a cockroach? Wait, did a cockroach bite your mouth? I picked up a grape from the fruit platter and shoved it into his mouth. Sir, it's hot in the summer. Eat more fruit. I don't want fruit. Wait, this is a grape. He paused, then mumbled, right, last night, I think I tasted grapes. Sweet with just a little tartness. Damn it, I forgot. My pheromones smell like green grapes. Stupidity really is contagious. Just as I was about to scold him again, a sharp pain prickled at the back of my neck. My body started to overheat. It was my heat. 11. Originally, I'd asked Henry for 5 days off. Benjamin was scheduled to have his cast removed on the 5th day, and he said he was scared and wanted me to go with him. But thanks to those 2 emergency suppressant shots, this heat lasted a full 15 days. Only on the final day was I able to crawl out of bed. After recharging my phone, I was met with dozens of missed messages and calls. The newest one had a photo attached, a handwritten note in bold strokes, I owe you. And below that, so many zeros it made my head hurt. If my dad's paying too little, I can give you more. Once my card's unfrozen, I'll transfer it to you. Reply if you see this. I skimmed for the essentials and called Henry back. Sorry, Henry, I've been sick the last few days. My voice was hoarse and dry from disuse. Henry sounded surprised. That's serious? Then take care of yourself. I'm fine now. Let me know if you need anything. I looked down at the pile of empty suppressants littering the floor. I'm mostly recovered. I can return to work. There was a business gala that night. Henry wanted Benjamin to attend to get some experience. Benjamin refused. Considering how much I'd been paid, I figured I should at least try. Henry, I'll find a way to bring him. I went to look for a decent suit but realized I had nothing appropriate. I called a beta senior from college. He was about the same size as me, generous as ever. He even offered to drop it off. After thanking him and taking the suit, I was still figuring out how to convince Benjamin to attend. That was when our young master suddenly appeared out of nowhere like a bandit, standing between me and my senior. He even snatched the homemade treats I'd prepared to thank my senior. William, so this is why you've been ignoring me for days. Because you have someone else. You promised to go with me to get the cast removed. And now you're breaking your word. You made him cookies. I've never even had anything you made. You'd choose him over me. What does he have that I don't? Are you blind? His mouth was, as usual, running on full battery. Is he an alpha? He demanded. My senior gave Benjamin a glance that practically screamed, "This is the guy you picked." Really? My senior had a sharp tongue back in school, legendary for roasting people. I worried he'd make Benjamin cry, and then Benjamin would refuse to go to the gala out of spite. For work, I said quickly. Thanks for your help today, senior. I'll treat you to dinner next time. Let's skip the cookies. He nodded, but as he got in his car, he muttered, "This counts as a workplace injury. Your boss better give you a raise." 12. Suddenly, Benjamin stopped fussing. He sat quietly on the steps, clutching the snack bag like a dog abandoned by its owner. The last time Benjamin was this well-behaved was during his susceptibility period. I was scared. He took 2 steps back. A sharp pain flickered in his eyes, and the next second, he broke down crying. Right, no gender discrimination here, alphas aren't supposed to cry, but an alpha crying this miserably, that was rare. He cried so hard that I wanted to comfort him but didn't know what to say. Enough, if you keep crying, I'm not listening. Before I could finish, the tall alpha, almost big enough to hold 2 of me, gave me a bear hug. He sniffled sharply. I'm not crying, sobbing, anymore. I struggled to free myself from his choking grip. Finally, I got a word in. Benjamin, there has to be a reason if you're crying. Say it, so we can solve it. After calming down a bit, Benjamin seemed to find his voice again. William, I'll listen to you and get through your scoring system quickly. When my card is unfrozen, I'll give you the money and the keys. Okay, I really do have a lot of money. Just tell me if you don't want him. He must have only half listened before, because I heard my senior say, add money. I quietly watched Benjamin. Through the boy's eyes, I saw memories I'd locked away long ago, treasured moments I'd repeatedly reviewed whenever I felt like I couldn't go on. 13, 16, trapped in a stifling summer. My father sold me to a lab and injected me with some kind of gene modification drug. Mid-injection, I escaped. On the way, I ran into Benjamin on his bike. The boy stood up, about to scold me. Then he saw my father chasing after me, carefree and bold. His tall frame shielded me from the burning sun. He cocked his head, raised his hands twice, and arrogantly said, "Get on." Like a bodyguard, he suppressed the nightmare that haunted me for years. He saved me from the fire and water, and then vanished recklessly from sight. My father was caught and sentenced. Because I had that gene-modifying drug, I eventually developed into an Omega with partially damaged glands. I couldn't reproduce, couldn't be permanently marked. At first, I was miserable enough to only be able to smell my own pheromones. The day I got the medical report, I did the boldest thing in my life. I went to Benjamin's school, looked through the fence, and watched him play basketball with his friends on the court. Many people watched, and the boy's eyes lifted arrogantly. He was the only son, a rich heir born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Between us was a gulf that could never be crossed. I could try to catch up in education and wealth, but he would never marry a useless Omega. Why are you crying? Benjamin said, his voice still a bit nasal, but his clumsy attempts to wipe my tears made me feel like I was dreaming. A dream I never wanted to wake up from. You're crying alone. It must be lonely. I recovered some sense and rubbed my eyes, promising, Master, I'll work hard to make you a qualified heir. I won't leave until then. Or, as long as you need me, I'll always be here. 14. Benjamin had a bit of a spoiled rich kid temper, but when he said something, he meant it. Throughout the whole gala, every gesture, every smile was flawless. Even when chatting with the partners, he made the boss laugh repeatedly. Henry, everyone says your son is rebellious and hard to tame. Seems those rumors were just slander from competitors. Henry raised his glass and smiled, then sneaked me a text, brief but clear, add money. After the gala, Benjamin dragged me into the car. Maybe because of the alcohol and rare formal wear, his usual slacker vibe was replaced by a mature pressure. He leaned back in the seat, raised his brow, and beckoned me over. This time, the suppressant from the black market worked perfectly, blocking all pheromone smells. So I let my guard down and leaned in. The next second, a cool hand landed on my neck. Benjamin pressed gently on my glands, then cupped my head, not intentionally, just pulling me closer. Still, it made me shiver. Benjamin chuckled low. Teacher, how did I do today? Very well. I tried to sound calm. Suddenly he hugged me and nuzzled my chest. Can the teacher give me a reward? I pretended not to understand. I'll add 20 points. Not enough. How about 50? No more than that. I stiffened, afraid this alpha would get wild any second. Turns out I was right. He obediently agreed. Okay. Just as I sighed in relief, he suddenly leaned closer and lifted my chin. If the teacher says so, then kiss for 50 seconds. His voice was low. Benjamin wasn't in a susceptibility period, just drunk. He kissed me. A chill ran along my collarbone. Click. A silver necklace dangled from my neck. The pendant was a ring. I'd seen it before. Benjamin had always worn it on his pinky. It didn't really fit, and clashed with his style. My mom's. Keep it safe for me. 15. In the days that followed, Benjamin seemed possessed by someone else. He went to work on time, attended all the events Henry set up for him, even showed up to meetings he didn't need to attend. Within a few days, he scored full marks in my rating book. The day his bank card was unfrozen, Benjamin transferred me an amount with as many zeros as in the IOU note. No need. Your dad's already paid enough. My dad is my dad. I am me. I can't treat my teacher badly, right? I don't spend much anyway. Keep these cards for me. The password's my birthday. He handed me the still-cold bank card generously, looking at Benjamin's unruly but genuine expression. I smiled faintly. You trust me so much. Aren't you afraid I'm after your money? Ha! I'm scared you aren't after anything. He teased, ruffling my hair from above. Benjamin took me to a private restaurant, saying he had a gift for me, since all his money was in my care, and large spends triggered alerts. I guessed what the gift might be, until I saw a book. How Alphas and Betas Spend Their Lives Together. I glanced at the title and put the book aside. You don't need to study this. He glanced at me, twirling his fork. A friend of mine is an alpha who likes betas. I cut him off. You can take over the company now. My mission is done. What do you mean? Benjamin's smile vanished, his expression turning cold. I pulled out the bank card he gave me before, then a small black velvet box. I'm keeping the necklace, but take the ring back. What do you mean, William? Benjamin slammed the table and stood up, trying to stop me. He hadn't raised his voice at me like that in a long time. Hearing me say, I'm a beta. I'm not interested in alphas, nor do I dare be. The susceptibility period is too troublesome. I like petite omegas. William, when I kissed you that day, you responded. Did someone force you? Who told me that? I waved off his hand. We met. We parted. Let's end it well. 16. If I could, I'd let go of everything and worry about nothing. But just a few days ago, Henry found me and showed me a surveillance video. Your bodyguard and my sons have been telling me that someone's been lurking around your place these past couple of days. Look, this man here, do you recognize him? The person on the screen looked somewhat aged, his face quite different from the nightmare one I knew. Still, I recognized him immediately. It was my father, the man who tore lovers apart, forced a lustful Omega into marriage, then showed no care or kindness. He gambled, drank, and debauched, driving that Omega to jump off a building. That day I was just heading out to buy breakfast. Bang! A shadow quickly fell right in front of me. Underneath the white dress bloomed pools of blood-like lotus flowers. My mother appeared as I remembered her, only she no longer smiled at me. Her eyes were wide open, terrifyingly so, staring right at me. After that, it felt like I was trapped in a nightmare, until that relentless beam of light appeared. Once someone has seen the light, how could they ever surrender to darkness again? In the end, I was too arrogant. I know Henry only showed me the video out of concern for my safety, nothing more, but that footage struck me like a hammer, waking me from my sweet dreams. I don't deserve to be with Benjamin, not with my background, my family, or even this half-broken body. I composed myself and said, Henry, I know this man. I'll handle it. To sever ties with Benjamin completely, I quit my job. 17. The next time I saw Benjamin was at another gala. I looked at him from across the crowd. The Benjamin I once knew was like the sun, sometimes kindly shining on those in need. Now, he was cold like stars in the night sky, icy and untouchable. An Omega nearby noticed me staring and shyly nudged my arm. You like him too? I looked away, denying it with a half-hearted no. Oh, the Omega hesitated, sounding a little downcast. A few days ago, my father wanted me to enter an arranged marriage, but Henry refused. I clenched my champagne glass awkwardly and asked casually, You're so good-looking, he must have bad taste. No, the Omega waved his hand. He said he likes betas. I was so stunned I didn't even notice when someone approached. The figure spoke. My eyesight may be bad, but it's better than some people's hearts. Clearly looking for trouble, the Omega quickly made an excuse and slipped away. I looked up at the sharply dressed, increasingly mature man. At this gathering of elites, I worried Benjamin might still have that spoiled rich kid temper. Take your time with the drink. I have to step out. I weaved through the guests and headed to the parking lot. I hadn't planned to drink, but the Omega was a lightweight, so I took a few drinks for him. The designated driver was already waiting. Once the car started moving, I recovered some composure from the earlier chaos with Benjamin. Glancing casually in the rearview mirror, I saw his face reflected, and he was staring right back at me. Well, what a coincidence, my dear son. The doors locked automatically. I had no intention of getting out. I pulled out the lighter I always carry. As the car made a sharp turn, I lit the seat cushion in front of me on fire. It had been a while since we met. The man still seemed to think I was the pushover he once casually controlled. Seeing the flames rise, he cursed. "William, you're crazy." I laughed, tears in my eyes. The fire warmed my face, and I finally called out a name I hadn't said in years. "Dad." Sometimes, to get something, you have to pay the price. Like, my voice lowered. "I want you dead." 18. Suddenly, a silver car drifted in to block us. James unlocked his door and fled. "Crazy bastard. You really are crazy." I got out to chase him and picked up a stone from the roadside. After a few steps, someone covered my eyes and tackled me down. Then, bang! Flames shot up. The car exploded, but I was unharmed. Benjamin, at the last moment, he shielded me. The heatwave hit. The fallen man closed his eyes tightly. An endless panic swept over me. I was scared. I felt like a curse. Benjamin saved me from disaster again and again, but I kept pushing him into danger. "Benjamin, wake up. Why are you so foolish?" Tears poured uncontrollably. Suddenly, a cold metal object pressed against my neck. I heard James's cold voice. "I know you've got money. Transfer me 2 million or both you and him will." Before he could finish, the man I'd been holding moments ago, lifeless, suddenly opened his eyes, raised his long leg, and kicked James in the chest. Damn, I just wanted to pretend to faint so my wife would kiss me, and I can't even do that. I could feel Benjamin's fury. James slammed against the roadside fence, struggling to get up with great effort. Benjamin rolled up his sleeves, grabbed the staggering James like a chicken, lifting him off the ground, then slammed his head hard against the fence. That was the first time I saw Benjamin use violence. I admit I wanted to kill James too, but I thought it would be mutual destruction. Benjamin was clean. He couldn't have any stains on his record. I grabbed his waist to stop him from hurting the barely breathing man further. The moment Benjamin was held, his body stiffened noticeably. Then he turned and threw himself into my arms. The long-missed physical contact made me feel reborn. But then, the very same spoiled rich kid, who had been shouting just moments ago, weakly raised his fist to me. "He's too tough. My hand hurts so much, I need to blow on it." 19. Everything happened so fast. Henry intervened soon after he found out. When he arrived at the hospital room, he saw the heir's hand, just starting to heal from the wound sustained later than expected. Frustrated, he told me, "My son is going to run the whole company someday. So, this time he got hurt saving you. You have to take care of him." "That's not, Henry," the doctors said. "Those quacks don't know anything. My son's hand won't heal in less than 10 days. The rest you don't have to worry about." Henry wanted to reassure me before leaving. "James is old. After so long in prison, his mind isn't right. I transferred him to a psychiatric hospital. Don't worry, I'll make sure he's well taken care of." "But Henry." "No buts. Nobody else can handle Benjamin's temper. Sorry to trouble you." The room fell silent. Just the two of us left. Benjamin suddenly started unbuttoning his shirt. I took a cautious step back. "What are you doing?" He pouted and almost started crying again. "I'm too dirty. Can you wash me?" I saw through his plan. "There's a nurse. The nurse is on leave." "William, I saved your life twice. You owe me at least 2 lifetimes." I stared at the person before me who seemed ready to shed all his clothes. "Be good. I'll cover you with a blanket first." 20. Although Benjamin didn't mind whether I was beta or omega, he still had the right to know. But before I could tell him, he entered his rut early. Since I had only been teaching the Omega Heir and usually just carried the usual suppressant injections, I didn't have any extras with me. Benjamin clung to me, not letting me out of his sight. When I came back to my senses, I realized I hadn't taken any suppressants for 2 days straight. Of course, this Heir, who scored 0 in physiology class, looked at me with a flushed face and approached with concern. "William, do you have a fever?" I glanced at the bodyguard blocking the door like a gatekeeper. "Yes, so can I go out to buy some medicine first?" A wave of heat washed over me. Alpha pheromones were even more relentless than the alpha himself. Sick and still want to go out to buy medicine alone. Am I dead? You're not going anywhere. The heir, who had never so much as washed his own hands, kindly pressed me down onto the big bed and gracefully brought a basin of warm water from the bathroom. Heat radiated from his body in waves. Yet the poor guy was flushed and clueless. You know, I just want to cool you down. I'm not some scoundrel trying to take advantage. I'll definitely wait until you agree. How did I end up liking this guy so much? The moment he bent down, I hooked my arm around his neck and flipped him onto the bed. I patted the face of the alpha beneath me. Do you mind not being permanently marked? What? The heir was stunned, until he smelled the scent of grapes in the air. He looked at me in disbelief. I'm an Omega, so I can only be temporarily marked. Should we? He nodded stiffly. 3 days later, he cried while holding my waist, begging me not to leave. I took a deep breath. Master, I'm going to process the discharge papers. His expression suddenly fell. I mind. What? I didn't understand at first. Then the big dog lunged, lips pressed tightly against the gland that was nearly bitten raw. I said, I mind that you can't mark me permanently, so, I'm going to keep marking you, non-stop, every moment. I kissed his trembling lashes with care. Master, I welcome it gladly.